It was one of those mornings that just felt special, even before anything had happened. The air was warm, the sun was gentle, and the whole town seemed a little more alive than usual. People were smiling, talking, gathering in groups, and everyone had a little spark of excitement in their eyes. Word had spread quickly that morning. A famous actor, someone everyone admired, was visiting the community center for a local charity event. Nobody knew exactly what time he would arrive, but that didn't stop the crowd from growing. Families came with their kids, fans wore shirts with his name, and people stood in long lines just to get a glimpse. In the middle of all this excitement was a little girl named Lily. She was small, maybe around 10 or 11, and she sat in a wheelchair decorated with bright stickers and ribbons. Her parents had helped her decorate it years ago. She loved color, and her favorite sticker was one that said, "Be strong, be kind." Lily had been born with a condition that made it hard for her to walk. Doctors had told her parents that she would spend most of her life in a wheelchair. But that never stopped her. She was one of those children who carried light wherever she went. Her laughter was the kind that made people turn and smile, and her heart was so full of love that even strangers felt it. That morning, she woke up earlier than anyone else in the house. She barely slept the night before. She had heard the news that her favorite actor, Dwayne Johnson, was coming to town. To her, he wasn't just a movie star, he was a hero. She had watched his movies, followed his interviews, and memorized some of his quotes. What she loved most about him wasn't his fame, but the way he talked about kindness and never giving up. Lily's parents had promised to take her to the event. Her mom had made sandwiches for the day, and her dad had packed a small backpack with water and snacks. They knew the crowd would be huge, but they also knew how much it meant to her. When Lily rolled into the living room that morning, her dad smiled and said, "Ready for the big day?" She nodded eagerly. "Do you think I'll see him?" Her mom smiled softly. "Maybe if we're lucky. But even if we don't, we'll still have a great time together, right?" Lily grinned. "Right, but I think we'll see him. I can feel it." By mid-morning, the streets leading to the community center were full. People were holding signs, cameras, and small gifts. Vendors sold drinks and snacks along the sidewalk. Police officers stood by the gates to control the crowd, directing people where to stand. Lily's family arrived a little later than planned, and by then, most of the front area was already full. They found a small space near the corner of the main entrance. It wasn't too close, but Lily didn't mind. She could still see the big banner hanging above the door. It said Community Day with Dwayne Johnson, Giving Back Together. Lily couldn't stop smiling. Every few minutes she looked up at her mom and said, "Do you think he's here yet?" "Not yet," her mom said gently, "but I'm sure he'll be here soon." As the crowd grew louder, Lily's dad noticed that taller people were standing in front of them, blocking her view. He tried to politely ask a few people to move aside, but everyone wanted a good spot. He sighed, realizing that Lily couldn't really see much anymore. He turned to one of the nearby officers who was controlling the line and asked, "Excuse me, would it be possible to move a little closer so my daughter can see? She's in a wheelchair and she's been waiting for this all week." The officer barely looked at him. "Everyone's waiting, sir. You can stay where you are." Her dad tried again, keeping his voice calm. "I understand, but she's small and she can't stand up like the others. She just wants to see from a spot where people aren't blocking her." The officer sighed, clearly irritated. "I said everyone has to wait behind the line. That's the rule. If we start making exceptions, everyone will want to move up." Lily's mom stepped in, trying to stay polite. "We're not asking to go ahead of everyone. Just a little to the side, maybe near the fence. She won't block anyone." But instead of understanding, the officer chuckled lightly and muttered, "Look, lady, it's not like she'll see him properly from that chair anyway. You can wait like everyone else." The words hit like a slap. Lily's parents froze. People nearby turned their heads. The tone was cruel. Maybe the officer didn't mean it that way, but it sounded awful. Lily looked down at her hands. For a moment, her bright smile faded. She didn't cry, but her eyes lost their sparkle. Her dad clenched his fist but took a deep breath. He didn't want to cause a scene. He leaned down and whispered to her, "Don't listen to that, sweetheart. You're doing great. We'll find a better spot, okay?" She nodded slowly, trying to smile again. "It's okay, Dad," she said softly. "I can still hear everything." Her mom reached out and squeezed her hand. But inside, both parents were heartbroken. The crowd around them started murmuring. Some people looked uncomfortable. A few whispered words like, "That was uncalled for and she's just a kid," but no one said anything louder. The music from the stage started to play again, and the moment was quickly swallowed by the noise of the crowd. Lily tried to act normal. She hummed quietly to herself and looked toward the entrance again. She didn't want her parents to feel bad, but deep down, she couldn't stop thinking about the officer's words. She had always believed that people in uniform were meant to protect others, to be kind and fair. She didn't understand why someone would say something so hurtful, especially about something she couldn't change. Her mom knelt beside her and wiped the corner of her eyes. "You okay, sweetheart?" "I'm fine, Mom. I just wish people didn't see me like that." Her mom smiled gently and whispered, "You're stronger than anyone here, Lily. Don't ever forget that." Meanwhile, just a few steps away, hidden among the crowd, a tall man wearing a hat and sunglasses had stopped signing autographs. He had been quietly greeting fans, taking pictures, and trying to stay humble despite the excitement. But when he heard the officer's words, he froze. He turned his head slightly, his eyes narrowing, his jaw tightened.
He had heard every word. He didn't say anything right away.
Instead, he watched. He watched the little girl trying to smile through her sadness. He saw her parents' faces, the pain they were trying to hide. He looked at the officer who had already turned away, pretending like nothing had happened. For a moment, the famous actor stood still, blending into the crowd. But in that stillness, something changed. His face softened and his expression turned serious. He took a step forward. But before anyone noticed who he was, he walked toward a volunteer near the stage and whispered something. The volunteer's eyes widened in surprise, then quickly nodded and walked away. A few minutes later, one of the organizers made an announcement through the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a special moment before the event begins. Can everyone please give a little space near the main walkway?" The crowd shuffled slightly. Lily's family didn't move, unsure of what was happening. Then, through the noise and movement, a deep, familiar voice came from behind them. "Excuse me, may I get through for a second?" The officer turned around, ready to respond with another strict remark, until he saw who it was. The man in the sunglasses was no longer hiding. The crowd gasped and cameras went up instantly. It was Dwayne Johnson. He wasn't smiling. Not yet. He walked calmly past the stunned officer and knelt beside Lily's wheelchair. "Hey," he said softly, his voice gentle and warm. "I heard you wanted to see me." Lily's eyes went wide. For a second, she couldn't speak. She just nodded, her mouth open in disbelief. He smiled. "Well, here I am." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, but he didn't look away from her. He kept his focus on the little girl whose day had almost been ruined. "What's your name?" he asked. "Oh, Lily," she stammered. The crowd was still buzzing long after that moment. People were talking, cheering, and holding up their phones to capture what had just happened. But for Lily, everything felt like it had slowed down. The sounds faded into the background. The world seemed softer, and all she could think about was that she had just met the man she had admired for years. Her parents stood behind her, still in disbelief. They had never expected something like this to happen. When they left the house that morning, all they wanted was for Lily to have a good day. But now, their little girl had just spoken to one of the most famous people in the world, and he had treated her with kindness that felt real, not staged. Dwayne stayed by Lily's side for a while, talking to her and her parents as if they were old friends. He wasn't rushing or distracted. He looked her in the eyes and listened when she spoke. He asked about her school, her favorite things to do, and what she wanted to be when she grew up. "I want to help animals," Lily said shyly. "Maybe work at a rescue place or something like that." Dwayne smiled. "That's a good dream. You know, animals can feel kindness just like people. They know when someone truly cares." Lily nodded eagerly. "Yeah, I think they understand more than we think." Her mom watched the two of them talking and felt her heart melt. There was something so gentle about the way he spoke to Lily, like he wasn't talking to a fan. He was talking to a person. When the event finally started, Dwayne was called up to the stage. But before walking away, he leaned down and said quietly to Lily, "You stay right here. I'll be back for you, okay?" She nodded quickly, her smile wide again. The music started and the crowd roared with excitement. People cheered, waved, and clapped. As Dwayne walked up to the microphone, he waved to everyone, thanked the community for coming, and spoke about the importance of kindness, respect, and helping one another. His voice carried warmth, but there was something in his tone that felt deeper than usual, like he had just witnessed something that reminded him why he does what he does. Then, without any warning, he turned toward the part of the crowd where Lily sat and said into the microphone, "You know, before I came on stage today, I met someone very special." The crowd turned to look. Cameras pointed toward the spot where Lily was. She froze, eyes wide, unsure what to do. "She reminded me," he continued, "that real strength isn't about muscles or fame. It's about heart. It's about smiling even when things aren't easy. It's about believing that kindness can change someone's day." People began to clap, and Lily's mom covered her mouth in shock. Dwayne smiled down at Lily and said, "So today I want everyone here to give a big cheer for my new friend, the bravest girl I've met, Lily." The crowd exploded with applause. People turned and clapped for her, some even shouting her name. Lily looked around, overwhelmed. Her cheeks turned pink and her eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling the whole time. Her dad knelt beside her and whispered, "That's all for you, sweetheart." Lily couldn't believe it. In that huge crowd, in that massive moment, she wasn't invisible anymore. She felt seen, heard, and loved, not because of pity, but because someone powerful had chosen to show kindness instead of ignoring what was wrong. After the speech, Dwayne walked back down and returned to her. The crowd made space as he approached. He handed her a small bracelet he had been wearing, a simple black band with silver letters that read, "Stay strong. This is for you," he said softly. "Whenever things feel hard, you look at this and remember today. Remember that you've got the heart of a fighter." Lily took it with trembling hands. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll never take it off," he smiled. "Good, now let's take a picture, yeah?" A photographer from the event came over and took several photos of them together. Dwayne made silly faces, flexed his muscles, and even pretended that Lily's wheelchair was a race car. She laughed so hard her parents couldn't stop smiling. Before leaving, he leaned down again and said, "You know, I saw what happened earlier, and I want you to know something. There will always be people who don't understand what others go through. But that doesn't mean you have to carry their words in your heart. You're special just the way you are." Lily nodded slowly. "I think I understand." He smiled and gently tapped the side of her wheelchair. "That's my girl." When he stood up, he turned toward the officer who had spoken rudely before. The officer was standing near the gate, his head slightly down, clearly uncomfortable. Dwayne walked over and the whole crowd seemed to hold its breath. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't embarrass him in front of everyone. Instead, he simply said, "A badge means you serve people, all people. Maybe today's a good day to remember that." The officer nodded quickly, his face pale. "Yes, sir, I understand." Dwayne didn't say anything else. He gave a short nod and walked away. The crowd cheered again, not out of anger at the officer, but out of admiration for how the actor handled it. Calm, firm, and full of respect. Later that day, as the event came to an end, the energy in the crowd began to fade. People were still talking about what they had seen, about how one small act of kindness had turned a painful moment into something powerful. Lily's family stayed a little while longer. Her dad pushed her wheelchair toward the garden area where it was quieter. She was still holding the bracelet, staring at it like it was something magical. "Did that really happen?" she asked softly. Her mom smiled. "It did, sweetheart. You made quite an impression." Lily looked down and whispered, "I didn't do anything." Her dad leaned over and said, "You just showed up and smiled, even when someone was unkind. That's more than most people could do." She thought about that for a long moment. "Do you think that officer feels bad?" Her mom looked at her gently. "I think so. Sometimes people say things they don't really mean. But if they're lucky, they get a chance to make it right." Lily nodded slowly. Maybe he didn't know how much it hurt. Her dad smiled. "You have such a kind heart, you know that?" She shrugged a little. "I just don't want him to feel bad forever." The day slowly turned to evening. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with orange and pink. The music faded, the crowd thinned out, and soon the park grew quiet again. But inside Lily's heart, everything felt different now. She had started that day hoping just to catch a glimpse of someone she admired. Instead, she had ended up teaching everyone around her what true strength looked like. When they got home that night, she placed the bracelet carefully on her nightstand before bed. Her parents tucked her in. and before turning off the light, her mom said softly, "You know, today wasn't just special because of who you met. It was special because you reminded everyone what kindness really means." Lily smiled sleepily. "Do you think he'll remember me?" Her mom brushed her hair gently. "Oh, sweetheart, I think he'll never forget you." The next morning, everything changed again. The story had already gone viral overnight. People who had been at the event shared videos online. The moment when Dwayne knelt beside Lily, the speech he gave about kindness, the way the crowd cheered for her. Within hours, the clips had spread across social media. Comments poured in from all over the world. Strangers wrote messages like, "That little girl is incredible," and "This made me cry. We need more people like her." Some even said that watching it made them want to be kinder in their own lives. When Lily's parents saw the video, they couldn't believe how far it had gone. They showed it to her and she watched quietly, wide-eyed. Seeing herself on screen surrounded by cheering people felt surreal. "That's you," her dad said proudly. "The whole world is talking about you." Lily giggled. "That's so weird." Her mom laughed. Weird, but amazing. Over the next few days, more good things happened. A local news station called to interview her parents about the event. They spoke humbly, thanking Dwayne for his kindness and reminding people that everyone deserves respect no matter what challenges they face. Even the police department reached out. The same officer from that day came by their house personally. He stood at the door, hat in his hands, and apologized sincerely. He told Lily that what he, the following week, felt like a dream for Lily and her family. What had started as one painful encounter had turned into something beautiful and inspiring. The story of Dwayne's kind act had spread across the internet, reaching people from all walks of life. Everywhere they looked, there were articles, news clips, and social media posts talking about the moment when kindness won over cruelty. But for Lily, life still moved at its own gentle pace. She wasn't thinking about fame or the number of views her video had. She still woke up early, fed her little dog, and went to school like she always did. What changed, however, was how people saw her. At school, her classmates were suddenly kinder. Some kids who used to ignore her now stopped to talk. Teachers asked about the event and told her how proud they were. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. One morning, her teacher played the viral video during class. Everyone watched silently as Dwayne knelt beside Lily, spoke kindly, and gave her that bracelet. When the clip ended, the room filled with quiet admiration. Her teacher smiled and said, "That, children, is what compassion looks like." Lily's cheeks turned red. She didn't like attention, but this time it didn't feel bad. It felt warm. Later at recess, a girl from another class came up and said, "Hey, I saw you on my phone." "You were so brave." Lily smiled shyly. "Thanks, I was just there." But inside she knew that what happened that day had changed something, not just around her, but inside her too. She felt stronger, more confident, like she had a voice that mattered. That afternoon, as she rolled home from school, her dad told her some news. "Guess who called today?" he said with a grin. She looked up curiously. "Who?" "Someone from Dwayne's team," her dad said. "They're inviting us to a charity event next month." "He wants you to come." Her mouth dropped open. "Me, really?" Her mom nodded. "He said he remembers you and wants you to be there as a guest." Lily's eyes filled with tears. She didn't even know what to say. That moment she thought would only happen once in her life was about to happen again. Over the next few weeks, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Every night before bed, she'd look at the bracelet on her wrist and smile. It had become her little reminder that good people still exist, and that one act of kindness could change so many lives. When the day of the charity event arrived, the air felt electric. The event was being held in a large community hall decorated with lights and posters about helping others. It wasn't about movies or fame. It was about giving back, helping kids, and spreading kindness. When Lily arrived with her parents, volunteers guided them through the crowd. This time, people recognized her right away. Some waved, others smiled warmly. She could hear people whispering softly, "That's her. That's the girl from the video." Lily's mom leaned down and whispered, "You're famous now." Lily laughed quietly. "I don't feel famous. I just feel happy." Then she saw him. Dwayne was standing near the stage, talking to a group of organizers. He looked the same, warm, friendly, and grounded. When his eyes met Lee, His face lit up with a big smile. He walked over immediately, his large frame towering over the crowd, and knelt beside her just like he did before. "There she is," he said joyfully. "The bravest girl I know." Lily laughed. "Hi! I didn't think you'd really remember me." Dwayne chuckled. "Of course I remember you. I don't forget people who teach me lessons." Her dad shook his hand firmly. "We can't thank you enough for what you did that day." Dwayne waved his hand modestly. "You don't need to thank me. It's her courage that made the moment special, not me." He then looked at Lily and said, "I've got something for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "This is an invitation. We're starting a foundation to help kids with disabilities, to make sure they get the support they deserve. And I want you to be the first young ambassador." Lily's jaw dropped. "Me? Yes, you," he said with a grin. "You represent what we're all about: courage, kindness, and never giving up." Her parents were speechless. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Lily opened the envelope and read the card inside. It had her name printed beautifully, with the title Youth Ambassador, the Heart of Kindness Foundation. She looked up with tears in her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Just say yes," Dwayne said gently. She nodded quickly. "Yes." The crowd nearby clapped when they saw what was happening. Some people even took pictures. Dwayne smiled and said, "All right, let's go show everyone how it's done." Later that afternoon, the event began. There were speeches, songs, and stories of hope. But when it was time for Dwayne to speak, he surprised everyone by inviting Lily onto the stage with him. As they rolled out together, the audience rose to their feet. The applause was thunderous, and Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She had never been on a stage before, but having him beside her made her feel safe. Dwayne took the microphone and said, "You all know why we're here today: to celebrate kindness, strength, and community. But before I talk about the foundation, I want to introduce someone who reminded me what real courage looks like." He placed his hand gently on Lily's shoulder. "This young lady showed me and the world that no matter who you are or what you face, kindness has power." That's why she's our first ambassador. The crowd cheered. Lily's parents stood near the front, wiping away tears. Dwayne handed the microphone to Lily. She looked at it nervously. "I've never done this before," she whispered. He smiled. "Just speak from your heart." She took a deep breath and began softly. Hi everyone. I don't really know what to say, but I guess I just want to say thank you. Not just to Dwayne, but to everyone who was kind to me after that day. When someone said something mean, I thought that was it, that people would always see me as weak. But then something amazing happened. Someone stood up for me, and because of that I learned that kindness is stronger than anything. The room was silent. Every word she said came from her heart, and it touched everyone listening. She continued, "I used to think being in a wheelchair made me less, but now I know it doesn't. It just makes me different. And different can be beautiful." People began to clap again, softly at first, then louder. Dwayne looked down at her, proud and smiling. When she finished, he gave her a big hug. The audience rose again, giving her a standing ovation. It wasn't for pity, it was for respect. After the event ended, reporters approached, but Dwayne made sure Lily didn't get overwhelmed. He guided her to a quiet spot backstage where they could talk alone for a moment. "You did incredible," he said softly. "You spoke like you've been doing this your whole life." Lily laughed. "I was shaking the whole time." "Yeah, but that's what makes it real," he replied. "People don't connect to perfection, they connect to honesty." "And you were honest," she looked at him curiously. "Do you ever get scared before speaking?" He smiled. "All the time. But I remind myself that if my words help even one person, it's worth it." She nodded. "I like that." He stood up, ready to go back to the crowd, then turned to her again. "Keep being who you are. The world needs more people like you." That night, as they drove home, Lily stared out the window, lost in thought. The city lights shimmered, reflecting on her bracelet. Her mom turned around and said softly, "You did something amazing today." Lily smiled. "I just told the truth," her dad chuckled. "Sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do." The weeks following the charity event passed by in a whirlwind. Lily's life had changed in ways she never imagined. Not only had she become a beacon of inspiration for so many, but she also felt more connected to the world around her than ever before. The phone calls and letters kept coming. But it wasn't the letters from famous people or reporters that moved Lily the most. It was the letters from regular kids, the ones who looked up to her and saw her as someone who understood their struggles. Many of them had written about how they felt alone or invisible, just like Lily had before the charity event, but her message of kindness and strength had given them hope. One afternoon after school, Lily sat in the living room with her mom. They had just finished a call from another family, thanking Lily for inspiring their son who had autism. He had always kept to himself and rarely spoke to anyone, but after watching Lily's video, he had started talking more openly about his feelings. Lily felt a mixture of emotions, pride, gratitude, and a little surprise. She never realized how much her story could affect people's lives, but now it was clear. "I never thought I could help anyone like that," she said softly. Her mom smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. "You've always had a gift, sweetheart. You just needed to believe in it." The phone rang again, and this time it was a call from the foundation. A new project was launching, one that focused on providing resources and activities for disabled children. They wanted Lily to be a part of it. It was an honor, and Lily's heart swelled with excitement. She would be helping organize events where children could meet other kids like them, try new activities, and have fun together. "That sounds amazing," Lily said eagerly, imagining all the different activities they could offer. "You'll do great," her mom reassured her, squeezing her hand. "You've always had such a big heart. This is your chance to give back." With each passing day, Lily found herself spending more time in meetings, speaking with others about how to improve the lives of children with disabilities. She was excited to see how the project would unfold, and the more she learned, the more passionate she became about it. It wasn't just about the recognition anymore. It was about helping others in the same way she had been helped when Dwayne had shown her kindness. One weekend, the foundation held a large event at a local park, where children and families could come together and enjoy a day filled with games, performances, and educational booths. The event was a success, drawing in hundreds of people. There were obstacle courses, face painting, and even a mini concert for the kids. But what made it special was the sense of community. Everyone was there for the same reason: to celebrate their differences and embrace the strength they found in each other. Lily, now an official ambassador for the Heart of Kindness Foundation, was there too. She was seated at a booth where kids could come by and chat with her about their experiences. It was incredible to see how many children looked up to her. Some came to share their own stories of overcoming challenges, while others simply wanted to meet the girl who had given them hope. At one point, a young boy in a wheelchair wheeled over to her booth with his mom. He was a little shy but smiled when he saw Lily. His mom leaned down and whispered, "He's a big fan of yours. He watches the video of you and Dwayne all the time." Lily smiled at him. "Hey there. You like the video?" The boy nodded, his eyes wide. "It's the best. I want to be like you." Lily felt a warmth in her chest as she looked at him. "You already are. You've got so much strength. You can do anything." The boy's mom smiled, looking at Lily with tears in her eyes. "Thank you for everything you're doing. You've really made a difference." Lily waved it off, feeling humbled by the compliment. "It's not just me. It's all of us together. That's what makes us strong." The day passed quickly. Lily spoke to many more kids, signed autographs for the first time, and even gave a small speech to close the event. She felt more alive than she ever had before, and she knew in her heart that this was just the beginning. As the event came to an end, Lily's family gathered around her. Her dad gave her a proud smile. "I'm so proud of you, Lily. You're making the world a better place." Her mom added, "We always knew you had it in you. You've turned something difficult into something beautiful." Lily smiled, her heart full. She didn't need fame or recognition to feel complete. Helping others, making a difference in their lives, that was what mattered most. Later that evening, after the event, Lily received a call. It was Dwayne. "Hey, kiddo," he said warmly. "How was the event?" "It was amazing. So many people came and I met so many kids. I even gave a speech." "That's fantastic," Dwayne exclaimed. "You're really doing it. I'm so proud of you. You're a natural at this." Lily grinned. "Thanks. I never thought I'd be doing something like this, but it feels right. It's like I found my purpose." "You found it all right," Dwayne said. "And you're already making a huge impact." "I knew you were special from the moment we met." Lily's heart swelled at his words. "Thank you for believing in me. No need to thank me. I just saw the incredible person you are," Dwayne replied. Keep doing what you're doing and you'll change even more lives. Lily hung up the phone, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She had gone from a girl who felt small and unnoticed to someone who had the power to inspire and bring people together. And the journey had only just begun. As she lay in bed that night, she thought about how far she had come. There were still challenges ahead, but she knew that with kindness, determination, and the support of those around her, she could face anything. The next day, Lily was invited to speak at a local school. It was a big moment for her. She was about to speak in front of hundreds of students, but she wasn't nervous anymore. She had learned how to use her voice, and she was ready to share her story. When she walked into the school auditorium, the students were already seated, waiting for her. She could feel their eyes on her, but it wasn't the same as before. This time, Lily's life had begun to take on a new rhythm. Every day seemed like another step forward, another chance to make a difference. She had never expected her life to change so dramatically. But now, standing in front of groups of people, sharing her story, and working alongside others who shared her vision of kindness, she felt truly alive. One morning, Lily's mom sat down with her at the breakfast table. Her face looked serious but warm. "I've been thinking," she started. "You've had so many people reach out to you over the past few months. I think it's time to consider doing something bigger, like starting a foundation of your own." Lily looked up from her cereal, wide-eyed. "A foundation?" Her mom nodded. "Yes, you've already inspired so many people, and I think you can do even more. What if you could help kids all over the country or even the world?" Lily thought about it for a long time. The idea of starting her own foundation was exciting, but it also felt a little overwhelming. She was still just a kid after all. But at the same time, she knew that this was the chance she'd been waiting for. The chance to make a lasting impact. Her dad, who had been listening quietly, smiled and added, "We'll be with you every step of the way. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. What matters is that you're doing something that matters." Lily's heart swelled with pride. She could see it now, a foundation built on the same values of kindness and strength that had gotten her to where she was today. A place where kids who felt alone or misunderstood could find support just like she had. "Okay," Lily said finally, "let's do it." Over the next few weeks, Lily and her parents began the process of starting the foundation. They worked tirelessly, reaching out to organizations, gathering ideas, and speaking with experts in the field of disability advocacy. It was a lot of work, but Lily was determined. She wanted to make sure that the foundation reflected everything she stood for: kindness, inclusion, and support for every child, no matter their challenges. The foundation, which they decided to name the Heart of Kindness Foundation, was soon up and running. It wasn't large at first, but it grew quickly. They started small with local events, providing resources for children with disabilities and organizing meetups where kids could make new friends and participate in fun activities. As word spread, the foundation began to gain attention from across the country. More and more people reached out to ask how they could help, and more volunteers joined the cause. Lily found herself busier than ever. She continued speaking at schools, talking to kids about the power of kindness and how they could stand up for each other. She also spent time organizing activities for the kids in her foundation, things like sports events, movie nights, and art projects that encouraged creativity and teamwork. One of the most rewarding aspects of the foundation was the sense of community it created. Kids from all different backgrounds and abilities came together, united by one simple belief: that everyone deserves respect and kindness. For the first time in her life, Lily felt truly connected to others. It wasn't just about her own journey anymore. It was about helping others find their strength too. One day, Lily received a phone call that would change everything. It was from a group of parents who had heard about her foundation and wanted to meet. They explained that they had a son who had been diagnosed with a rare condition that made it difficult for him to communicate with others. He had been isolated from the other children at school and was struggling to fit in. They had heard about Lily's story and thought maybe, just maybe, the foundation could help. Lily's heart ached when she heard their story. She knew exactly what it felt like to be the one who didn't fit in, the one who felt like an outsider. She wanted to do everything in her power to help this boy. The family invited Lily and her parents to their home to meet their son. When they arrived, they found a quiet little boy sitting in the corner of the room. His eyes were downcast and he seemed unsure of how to interact with the strangers in front of him. But when Lily sat down beside him, something amazing happened. She smiled warmly and gently introduced herself. "I'm Lily," she said softly. "I know it can be tough sometimes, but you're not alone." The boy hesitated for a moment, then slowly looked up at her. There was something in her voice that made him feel safe. He smiled shyly, his eyes lighting up. Lily knew this was the beginning of something beautiful. Over the next few weeks, she and her foundation worked with the boy and his family to help him feel more comfortable and included. They connected him with other kids from the foundation who understood what he was going through, and together they helped him find his voice. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the boy still struggled, but he slowly started to open up. And through the process, Lily saw firsthand how powerful community and kindness could be. Meanwhile, the media continued to cover Lily's story. News outlets, talk shows, and even online influencers began to pick up the story of how a young girl with a disability had turned her personal pain into a mission to help others. Lily's story was everywhere, but she remained grounded. She didn't care about the fame. What mattered to her was the impact she was making on people's lives. One morning, Lily received another call, this time from Dwayne himself. He had been following her progress and was so proud of all that she had accomplished. "You're doing amazing things, Lily," he said. "I knew you had it in you. I always knew you were going to change the world." Lily smiled, feeling the warmth of his words. "Thank you, Dwayne. I couldn't have done it without you," Dwayne chuckled. "You've got everything you need inside you. I'm just here to cheer you on." Later that month, the foundation hosted its biggest event yet, a weekend retreat for kids with disabilities. It was held at a beautiful resort, and it was designed to give the kids a chance to relax, have fun, and connect with others. There were swimming pools, nature trails, and even a talent show where the kids could showcase their skills. Lily had worked tirelessly to make sure the event was perfect. She wanted it to be a safe and welcoming space where kids could simply be themselves. When the event finally kicked off, she was overwhelmed with joy as she watched the kids laughing, playing, and making new friends. It was everything she had hoped for. That evening, after the sun had set and the kids were gathered around the campfire, Lily took a moment to reflect on how far she had come. A year ago, she never could have imagined that her life would be like this. But now here she was, leading a foundation and helping kids just like her find their strength. As she stood up to speak to the group, she felt a sense of gratitude wash over her. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I started this foundation because I wanted to help people, but I've learned that I'm the one who's been helped. You all have shown me what true strength and kindness really are. You've taught me that no matter how hard life gets, we can always choose to lift each other up." The crowd of kids and parents clapped and cheered, and Lily felt the love and support of her community wrap around her like a warm embrace. In that moment, she realized something important. It wasn't just the foundation that had grown, it was her. As the retreat came to a close, Lily reflected on the incredible journey she had been on. There would still be challenges ahead, no doubt. But she was no longer the scared little girl who had been ridiculed and ignored. She was a force of kindness, and nothing could stop her. And as she looked out at the kids who were smiling and playing around the campfire, Lily knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. She had found her purpose, and it was bigger than she had ever imagined. He didn't feel scared. She felt empowered. As she stepped up to the microphone, she took a deep breath and began. "Hi, everyone. My name is Lily, and I'm here to talk about kindness." She paused, looking out at the students who were listening intently. "I want to share a story with you. A story about a girl who was teased and ridiculed for being different. That girl is me, and I didn't think anyone cared." She went on to tell them about the day when everything changed, when Dwayne stood up for her and showed her the true power of kindness. By the time she finished, the room was silent and the students were staring at her with awe. Afterward, one of the teachers came up to her with a smile. "That was beautiful. You've inspired these kids more than you know." Lily felt a wave of emotion. She had done it. She had shared her story, and in doing so, she had opened up the possible